Hey, welcome to the Community Map Challenge, day number 21. We've made it so far. I am Juliana McMillan-Wilhoit, one of the creators of this challenge, and I'm the principal consultant at Tabulate Spatial Services. I'd love it if you checked out my website in the description below and looked at the work that I do. But anyway, so today we are mapping water, and water falls into the category of the sustainable for the map challenge and in the Thriving Cities framework. So water is something where there are so many different things that you can map, and I am so excited to see everything that you do. For some reason, this is just like one of the days that I think the most excited to see what people do. So here are a bunch of different ideas of maps that you could do. So the first is drinking water, right? Drinking water is super important, being able to have access to clean water. Some places in the US have lead pipes, and so they don't have access to clean water. And I'm sure if you're in another country, there may be similar issues. So one thing would just be to like map the source of the water. So where I live in the Chicago area, if you've watched all the videos, you're probably really like, she doesn't need to keep telling me that. But anyway, here, some of us get our water from Lake Michigan, while others of us get water from groundwater. I shared a map on the day that we talked about region of those different places where water comes from. So that's a possibility, right? Like understanding like where does that water come from? So if you're in the Great Lakes region, you could do some sort of map of the Great Lakes and just understanding that as being a freshwater source. That's one possibility. Another possibility, and again, this is super dependent on like the data availability within your community, but it could be something on mapping like old, outdated pipes. And again, like pipe data is something that tends to be really closely held information because a bad person could do something bad with that information, but it's possible that in your community some of that information is available, or that there's somebody who's written a newspaper article or something like that where you might be able to find information on water through there. So you've got sort of like the water sources, some of the ways that water gets to you. So water can also be like a community asset. So you could map where there are bodies of water. I live in Lake County, Illinois, which is named Lake County, not because of its actual proximity to Lake Michigan, but because of all the lakes. And so I think that that's actually what I'm going to be mapping, are just making a map where I can better understand where all the lakes are, as well as I'm just really curious about public access to lakes. So that it's not uncommon for like a neighborhood to have access to a lake in this area, but that not everyone can have access to it. And so really looking at like what the public lakes are versus like the private lake access. So that's, I think, what I might be mapping. So, that's something that you could do. Like water is also something that is an environmental danger. So if you are in a coastal area, you could map something with sea level rise and what might be impacted by that. There's something, at least in the US, called the National, it's HIFELD. It's the flood infrastructure data, which essentially is used for flood insurance. It's a national data set, and you could also just map and look at what are the areas that are at that the government says are at greater risk of flooding in your community. What is located there? Is there a certain like demographic that is more in those areas? That's something that you could also map. So anyway, I'd invite you to make your map and go over to thecommunitymaps.org and submit your map to our Community Atlas.